She said her job was work from home, but I found out where she really spent her days. My wife said she was working from home every day, but her webcam was always off during meetings. One afternoon, I decided to track her location, and it led me straight to a hotel. When Sarah's company switched to full remote work, I thought it was the perfect opportunity for us to spend more time together. No more long commutes, no more late nights at the office. Just us, sharing coffee in the morning, and maybe sneaking out for lunch once in a while. At first, that's exactly how it went. She set up her little home office in the spare bedroom, and I'd hear the faint murmur of voices from her video calls throughout the day. But over time, little things started to bother me. She never had her camera on during meetings. She always claimed she didn't feel presentable. Her work hours started to stretch strangely late, even though she was supposed to have flexible scheduling. And when I'd knock on the office door to bring her coffee, she'd answer with a startled expression, as if I'd just caught her doing something she wasn't supposed to. The first real red flag came on a Wednesday afternoon when I got off work early. I came home to find the home office door wide open, lights off, and no laptop on the desk. Her work bag was gone too. When I called her, she picked up on the second ring and said, in that calm, casual voice of hers, "Oh, I'm just running a quick errand. Be back soon." But something about her tone. It wasn't just casual, it was too casual. Over the next week, I paid more attention. She started dressing a little nicer before logging in for work. I'd hear her laugh, not the polite work laugh, but the warm, real one, even when there was no meeting on her calendar. It all came to a head when I noticed she was turning off her phone's location sharing with me in the mornings, only to turn it back on in the late afternoon. I asked her about it and she brushed it off. Glitch in the app, don't worry about it. But I did worry. The following Friday, I decided to test something. She said she had back-to-back virtual meetings until 4 p.m. I pretended to head to the office, but instead parked my car 2 streets over and waited. At 10:15 a.m., she stepped outside, wearing a different outfit than the one she had on at breakfast, and got into her car. I followed. And where she drove, it wasn't to the grocery store, or to meet a client, or even to a friend's place. It was to a hotel. One of those mid-range ones with tinted windows and a lobby that smelled faintly of cheap perfume. She walked in without hesitation, smiling at someone just out of my view. That was the moment my stomach dropped, but I wasn't ready for what came next. I sat in my car across the street, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles went white. My mind was running 1,000 miles a minute, every possible explanation clashing in my head, but deep down, I already knew what this was. After 10 minutes of staring at those tinted hotel doors, I forced myself out of the car and walked toward the entrance. My heart pounded in my ears, so loud I almost didn't hear the receptionist greet me. I pretended to be on my phone, glancing around like I was waiting for someone. And then I saw it. The elevator doors slid open, and Sarah stepped out for just a moment to grab a small bag from a man standing in the hallway. I couldn't see his face fully, but I saw his hand rest on her lower back for just a second longer than it should have. The kind of touch that's not friendly, not professional. She didn't notice me. She laughed at something he said, then followed him back into the elevator. My pulse was in my throat. I turned away before the doors closed, heading back outside before I did something stupid in the middle of that lobby. I sat in my car, staring at the entrance, waiting. 5 minutes, 10, 15. At the 30-minute mark, I wasn't even breathing normally anymore. Every minute she stayed in there was like another nail in the coffin of our marriage. I didn't storm in, not yet. I wanted to be sure. I wanted proof. So I started my engine, drove around to the back, and found a small parking lot where the hotel's rear entrance was half hidden. A few delivery trucks blocked most of the view, but I could see enough to know if someone came out. An hour later they did. Sarah and the man, mid-30s, tall, wearing business casual, walked out together. He had his arm draped around her shoulders like it was the most natural thing in the world. She leaned into him, not resisting, not hiding, like they'd done this 100 times before. They got into separate cars, his a black SUV, Hers our family sedan, but the casual wave they exchanged before driving away was the kind you give someone you'll see again very soon. I didn't follow her home. Instead, I followed him. He drove to an office building across town, swiped in with a badge, and disappeared inside. I took a photo of his license plate before pulling away. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped my phone. That night, Sarah came home exhausted, claiming her meetings had run late and that she'd skipped lunch. I watched her lie to my face, every word dripping with practiced ease. I didn't confront her, not yet, because I had a plan forming. If she was going to destroy our marriage in secret, then I was going to bring everything into the light, in a way she'd never see coming. When the cops took Rachel away, the parking lot was dead silent except for the sound of her heels scraping the pavement as she resisted. She kept screaming my name, promising she'd explain, that it wasn't what I thought. But I just stood there, my phone in my hand, the recording of her own words still playing through my head. That was the thing about the truth. Once you heard it, you couldn't unhear it. The next few weeks were chaos. Rachel was charged with fraud, theft, and falsifying documents. Her community service was a cover for a scheme where she'd take donations meant for housing struggling families, then skim cash and supplies for herself, and sometimes for her little weekend getaways with Daniel. The betrayal burned twice as deep. Not only had she been cheating on me, she was exploiting people who had nothing. Daniel tried to call me once. I didn't pick up, but later he sent a single text. "You could have just confronted us. You didn't have to ruin our lives." I stared at the screen for a long time before deleting it. The irony of that message almost made me laugh. They had ruined my marriage, my trust, my sense of home. I had just shown the world who they really were. The fallout hit fast. Rachel lost her job and her reputation in the nonprofit world was obliterated. Word spread through her network. No one wanted to be associated with her. Daniel's wife filed for divorce within days, citing irreconcilable differences, but I knew the truth. Me? I didn't come out unscathed. Nights were quiet and heavy. I'd lie in bed and stare at the ceiling, trying to piece together the exact moment everything went wrong. Was it the first time she volunteered there? The first secret Friday? Or had the seed of betrayal been planted long before I even noticed? One night, as I packed the last of her things into a box, I found the wedding photo we had framed years ago. We were both smiling like the world was ours. I thought about throwing it away, but I didn't. Instead, I slid it into a drawer. Not as a keepsake, but as a reminder. A reminder that sometimes love isn't lost in one big explosion. It erodes piece by piece, until all that's left is the wreckage you didn't see coming. Now, months later, I'm starting over. New apartment, new job, fewer friends, but the kind I can trust. And every Friday when the clock hits 5 p.m., I don't think about where Rachel might be. I think about how I'm exactly where I need to be, and how, in the end, exposing her was the only way to get my life back. Because some truths destroy you. But the right truth? It can set you free. What would you have done if you caught your spouse lying like this? Expose them publicly or walk away quietly?